What's up, everybody, and welcome to Health Over Everything podcast. I'm your host, SoCal Gula with Steven Z, and today we're going to be talking about personal growth. And before we get into it, I'd just like to say if you could subscribe and also share it with a friend, that'd be awesome. And that being said, let's get to it. So, good morning, Steven. How you doing?
Good morning. Good morning. Happy Sunday. Good to be here.
Yes, definitely. So today we're going to talk about personal growth. It's a long journey, right?
It
Definitely.
is. It's definitely a tough one too.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you think that you like in the beginning? Let's say with me, it all took like just like a kind of a spark. Like I need to get better, but it wasn't really like, oh, I need a personal growth, because a lot of people don't even know what personal growth really is, or like what, like, how do you do it? But it takes like a lot of like self reflection, right? You got to look at what you're doing inside of your own life that's not letting you grow. And also sometimes you might have to even figure out what you have to let go in order to grow. So what kind of
Yeah.
like what like started you on your like growth, your personal growth journey?
I think for me, I got to a point in my life, and it was hard because it's like after a certain way for so long, you kind of don't realize it. But I think I got into a point in my life where I just wasn't happy with myself, and it took a while to kind of figure out what was wrong exactly. It's like, you could think about, I thought about my job. I thought about, I had some health things going on with my wrist and my ankle. I think that maybe added to it a little bit, but basically it took me doing a dive within myself to kind of look and analyze my life to figure out what areas I need to improve on. And I've always read books. But I think my problem was I kind of looked, I had all this information, but I wasn't applying any of it. It was like I had, I read multiple different books. It has all these good ideas, but I never really took action on anything. So it took me acting to kind of get myself out of my funk, just doing the little things too, like waking up on time, do my, at first it was to do my cold plunges, and then I added my workouts, and then I started eating better. So it took a little bit of everything. It wasn't just one particular thing that got me out. It was like a series of these small little steps that I did over time that kind of helped me get out of my funk. And I know you did some growing too, so how was that process for you?
Oh man, it was like it started with just wanting something. Like I wanted to be better, like because I was kind of like a train wreck, and I did it for my nieces, like they and my family, and people could just see me in a better light. But I was like, I didn't know like what I needed to do. So I was just like, I knew I needed to change. And it's crazy because like I just needed to change. So I just went online and started looking at stuff. And it was like they say, like once a student is ready, the teacher appears. So a lot of people, the teacher never appears, or they don't like them. They're just like, this guy is full of shit or whatever, like a mentor or like a. So I just started looking for that. And then I ended up coming across like Grant Cardone and Ty Lopez and Gary Vee. And then they kind of like put a lot of things in my head about growth. And that's what it started, like, but to even start, it was just such a long journey because, I would live 35 years doing the same shit. And now I'm like, oh, I need to grow. So like one of the first things I did was just try to like remove toxicity out of my life. And that was something like stop listening to the music that I listen to. I'm like, you listen to all this music, and I'm like, well, it's just, oh, I'm listening to this every day, and it's putting negative thoughts in my head. And that was the first part of my growth. So I'm like, okay, let's replace the music, that the sad music and the self-deprecating music and stuff like that, with positive things like podcasts and, like you're saying, audio books and these mentors online. And that was just the first part, just to get your mentality right. And then after I got my mentality right, then it's just step by step, like you're saying, but it takes sometimes a long journey, because one step could take you a year. It could take you 2 years. Like just stop being negative, stop being self-deprecated, learn how to talk right, like to be more positive with your words. Like that alone could take a year. And then you got to go to the next one. Okay, now how do I stop drinking? And then I went from there. And then like, okay, now how do I stop smoking? Like how do I become better with people that I talk to? And then how do I, you know, eat better? So it's like progression. But a lot of times you fell, like, oh, I'm gonna stop drinking. I'll stop drinking for 6 months, but then I ended up drinking again for 4 more months, and then I stopped drinking it again, and then I'll drink a few times. It's that. So it's just like, it's a crazy battle, and it's a battle with your mind, but you can train your mind and you can train your habits, and you got to have to know that you can train your mind, you can train your habits, and eventually you will beat them. And once you beat one small battle, like you're saying, like you get these small battles, then you could actually can know that you can do it, and then you could make the battles bigger and beat the next demon and the next demon, and you just get better and better. And then after you beat all your demons, like that's the first step. You got to get rid of all the bad stuff. Then you're saying, like, how do I get better, and how do I become elite? How do I become top notch, higher in the hierarchy? How do I become a beast mode? How do I do that? And that's the next part. And so that's a whole nother journey. Like, how do I gain muscle? How do I lose weight? How do I make my mind like ironclad? Like, how do I do all this stuff? So, but it takes just fortitude and just keep trying at it and going with it. And that's like pretty much the growth process, but it all started with self-reflection.
All right. Yeah, I kind of like how you said too, some of these steps that you're taking could take, months to a year or maybe even longer to change. And I think that comes with having to break some bad habits that you have, like some of those habits that you've had your whole life. To have to analyze yourself and start to tear those down is a process. It's just not like you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I want to be like this, and then you change like that. It's like, like positive self-talk is a big one. So if you're always talking bad about yourself, you have to be able to catch yourself, like, oh, why am I even saying like I can't do it, or I'm fat, I'm ugly, I'm this, I'm that, or whatever. Mm-hmm. To go inside and be able to catch yourself takes time, and it takes practice. And after, the repetition of doing it over and over and over again, like for me, it was, I'll always remember this moment where I was driving on the freeway and somebody cut me off, and I like flipped my lid because he cut me off and they started driving slow, and I was like hitting the dashboard. I was a lot younger too. I was a little bit more angry, but I was hitting the dashboard. I think I threw something, and then all of a sudden I became like calm, and I was like, why am I getting so mad at this guy? I'm like, maybe he truly cut me off on an accident. It's an old person. I'm over here making this story up in my head and believing it to be true, when in reality it could have been a multiple circumstances why it happened. And from then on, it was like whenever I would get mad, I was able to kind of catch myself. Like I could feel that anger kind of boiling up in me, and I was able to catch it quicker. So I'd able to kind of bring myself back down the baseline within like seconds. After a while, after you practice it enough, it just becomes second nature. Like, all right, I'm getting mad. Let me take a deep breath. Like, it's all right. It's not that big of a deal. And yeah, that process can take some time to get to that point. But like you said, it's about going back and trying it again. And then you get a little bit better. Going back and trying again, you get a little bit better. But yeah, that process could be brutal sometimes.
Yeah. And like that kind of reminds me too of like when I first started. Like I said, I got mentors. Grant Cardone was one of them. And a lot of people say, oh, these people are scams. These people are this and that. Well, if they help you, is it really a scam? And but like and they also have little things in there, like not, maybe some things are scams, but a lot of it might be good. So you don't want to limit yourself with that just because it might be a scam, but just don't give them no money or something like that. But one thing that he said is that play like the positivity game. And I thought that was cool. It's like, so when you wake up in the morning, start consciously thinking about your thoughts. Like, what am I thinking about? And as soon as you walk outside and you're like, oh man, this is fucking stupid, I'm late. Like, think, oh, that was negative. Started over. Like, how long since I said a negative thought? So then you're just consciously aware of how negative your thoughts are. Like, man, it's like, work sucks, I need a drink. Like, oh, that's a negative thought. Like, how long did it was only been 5 minutes since I said something negative before that. And just kind of just keep tabs on it. You don't really need to like write it down or anything, but just kind of like be aware, and then you'll start noticing. Like then you'll start noticing and be like, oh, I'm gonna say something negative, like something pisses you off. You're like, nope. You're like, oh, that's fine, that's totally okay, because I can't control that, or something like that. Or like, I'm gonna drink after work. I'm like, instead of saying that, be like, oh, I'm not gonna drink after work. I'm gonna eat healthier. I'm just gonna lay down. I'm just gonna go to sleep or whatever. Like, just so I don't do that. But try to like be aware of your thoughts, because that's where everything starts at, is in your mind. And then like you're not drinking or smoking or eating bad that's the second layer, third layer thing. The first layer starts in your mind. So you got to be aware of your mind and like kind of like, and that's part of the self-reflection as well.
I think there's a quote by Carl Jung. It's until you make the subconscious conscious, it will, I'm paraphrasing, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. So
Mhm.
you
That's
got
good.
to be able to bring these things up to the surface in order to change them, because like how do you change an aspect of yourself you're totally oblivious to and unaware of? Like you
Yeah.
might not even be aware of the problem, so for you to change it is almost near impossible until you bring it up into your conscious mind.
Yes. Yeah. You can't, there's no way you're going to change it if you don't do that. That's for sure. And then also you got to like set goals, you know, you got set clear goals. Um, did you set any goals? Like what was some of your like goals that you set?
When I first started, it was to stop drinking. That was, I think, my first big one because I felt that had such a grip on me. So for me to stop drinking was, it was a battle, like I'm sure it was with you, where, you know, the first time I stopped for a few months and then, I went back for a year or maybe longer after that. And then I made another attempt and stopped. And then eventually it was this kind of ping pong back and forth where I got to the point where I think like I said earlier, I was so unhappy with myself and I was just drinking every weekend. And for anyone that knows me, I was the type of drinker, like I didn't have to drink every day, but when I drank, like I would drink. I would try to ride that fine line between being so drunk and like be as drunk as possible and not throw up. Like that's where I wanted to be. Like, so I didn't have a limit, and I just didn't like myself like that. And then as I got older, I started getting hangovers. So I would be not 100% for the next 2 to 3 days after. And it was just like a cycle that I wasn't happy with anymore. So to break that took took some time. It took some effort,
Did you write
especially.
down goals? Did you like write them down like in a journal or like write like anything down?
No, I haven't actually gotten into like journaling or writing anything down. They're more of like a mental thing where like, all right, I'm not happy doing this anymore, so let's work on it. Let's, you
Mhm.
know, do
It was just
something.
one straight goal that you're focused on the drinking. So it's like not really because
Yeah,
like
I wasn't gonna forget that one just because, it was so like, yeah, like I said, it had such like a grip on me. To get out of that little death grip it had took some time, and it took a lot of effort and willpower and consistency, but eventually, like you said, if you keep hitting it, like eventually you're going to get to your goal. But obviously if you quit, then you never get there. So all it is coming back and showing up for yourself every day, and eventually you hit your goal.
because a lot of people say journaling like, oh, if you write it down it makes it real. They say, you know, like, oh, it makes it real. And I did that, you know, I just follow advice. I don't really journal or write down much anymore. Sometimes I'll write down in my like little journal like about the day. I haven't done it in a while, but I remember I was just writing down like over and over again the same thing, like five different things, like you got to stop drinking, you got to stop smoking, you got to start working out, you got to start eating well, and just write it over and over again, like on a whole piece of paper, flip the paper around, write it again, just to make sure you get it in the head, like I have to get this. And like, and then I would do it all the time, like, okay, today I'm going to write my goals down, like what are my goals, and like I'll just write like a whole piece of paper, like just even if it was a wild idea, you know, buy a mansion, go to go on vacation here, go vacation there, do this, do that, like just wild things. But it's like just none of it was like, oh, keep drinking. Like that wasn't one of my goals. One of my goals wasn't keep smoking. Like, you know, it was I was trying to like do positive things. So that could help as well as a way to put your goals down as well. But like you're saying, if you're just focused on one or two, like you know, like this is the one thing I have to stop in order to grow and get better.
Hit that area hard.
Yeah, so you go and hit it hard. Like, do you like also too like do you remember the last time you drank? Like, did you know that this was gonna be the last time?
um no, actually I think one of the last times I drank, well, my fiance, she relates one point. She's like, I consider your last time my birthday because that was the last time I was like actually drunk. But
Yes.
the last time I actually had a drink, I was with my nephew. And I remember even I had like three tall cans, and I remember I drank only like one and a half, which, is odd for me. I was
Yeah.
like,
Very odd.
back when we were younger, I'd pound an 18 pack to myself and, still go out and drink some more. But I just wasn't feeling it. It was almost like, I don't know, I just didn't want it. I had one and then I started drinking the second one. I think I got like halfway through and I was just like, I'm done. And
Yeah,
in that moment, I wasn't like, oh, this is going to be the last sip of beer I ever have.
that's crazy.
But I didn't have like a, I don't know, I wasn't attracted to it anymore. Kind of
Yes.
weird thing.
Yeah. Like, I still drink a few beers here and there like this year, but now that I'm 40, I'm gonna try to just stop completely. But I'll probably, like have a glass of wine or a beer like here and there. Like, but I can control it now, but I used to not be able to control it at all. And I don't really like, I have no desire for it really. Like, I'm just saying, like, okay, if you, when you're at your wedding, I might drink a few beers, like, but other than that, like, there's no special occasion or something. If I'm going out with a girl and she wants to drink a beer, like, I'll drink a beer with you, whatever. But other than that, I'm not doing that because it's not really a detriment to me anymore, I don't think. But I remember at one point, like, everyone else, I'm getting older, I'm going to the same bars that all my friends would go to. And now none of my friends are there. And I'm sitting there by myself drinking. And there was actually some girl I knew just from the bar there. And she walks up to me and she goes, "You look lost. Like, you look like you're completely lost." And I was just sitting there literally just self-reflecting on myself, thinking like, is this what my life came to? Like, all my friends are like getting relationships, having families, and not, maybe still drinking, but not drinking at bars like this anymore. And I'm like over here by myself, just drinking. Like, what am I doing? Like, this is pathetic. This is not the life I want. And I was just like, I need to stop this. This is completely stupid, you know? So I just stopped. I don't do that anymore, like, I go to the bars now. I'm just like, why am I here? This is not my scene. This is not the people. It's not my crowd or anything. So I just don't like that, but like I said, I'll have a beer, like if I'm on a big date or something, or some big event happens, I'll have one. Who cares? But but if I would have drank that one, and it would lead into me drinking all the way till 2, 3 in the morning at the bars again, like it used to, take an Uber over there after the event or whatever, then no, then I would still have a huge problem. But now I grew like kind of past that. I don't even like really crave it. I don't like it, and I don't even really want it.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I got to a point where I was like, I don't need it anymore. Like even to have one, and that was always my point too. Even when I would drink, I'm like, my fiance would be like, why don't you just have one? I'm like, well, what's the point in that? Like if I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna drink. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the same boat where sometimes people will offer me non-alcoholic beers, and I've had them, but for the most part, I'm like, I don't need the taste. Like I was in
Yeah.
it for the feeling, the way it made me feel, not the way it tastes.
Yeah.
It's funny to change the subject a little bit. I was thinking about this a few days ago. I'm like, it might be, or you might be the reason, you might have planted the seed in my head because you stopped drinking before I did. I
Yeah.
was still
I
drinking, and
did.
I know you would call me like, or we're obviously we're friends, so we had communication. You were basically would tell me like, you should start thinking about your drinking, man. Like you have your son, like you don't want to end up like your dad, and at the time I didn't really think anything of it. Like I was still doing my own thing, but maybe just planted some little seeds in my head because those were kind of the reasons that turned into my big reasons. Like, I started reflecting on my dad and the way he passed from drinking too much pretty much. And I didn't want to put my son through that. I'm like, am I really going to be that selfish where I can actually stop and I have the knowledge to stop, and I'm not going to because alcohol has such a grip on me that I'm going to put my son through the same thing that I went through. And my dad, he passed that, he was young, he was 53 years old. So I'm 40. I'm like, that's only 13 years from now. And I feel like if I would have continued down that path, I probably would have ended up in a similar situation because I used to drink a lot. Like I
Yeah.
said, not every day, but on the weekends, I would go hard in the paint and just drink as much as I could.
And just
And
think, like 13, 14 years, Stevie, your son, would be around the same age you were, 20 years old.
yeah, exactly. So I
It'd
was
be
like,
like history repeating itself.
yeah, it's like I'm the one who could break the generational curse, and I'm not going to because of X, Y, and Z. Like, no, like I know, and change is hard. That's what I'm saying. I know it's freaking hard. I've done it, and
Very hard.
so have you. So it's like I don't want to. If I could be the one that breaks that little generational curse, then so be it. Like I'll freaking sacrifice the myself a little bit and go through that painful process of changing those bad habits, and hopefully it ends with me and I don't pass it on to my son.
And it's I like you're my best friend, and I'm very proud, and it makes me happy to know that I did help you with your journey, because that's what we're doing here, and you know how hard a change is. I know how hard change is. So like, this is why we're even doing the podcast in the beginning, because we're here trying to help other people. Someone's going to watch this. I know people that look at it and they tell me, they DM me saying like, oh, you're helping me, like, so I like helping people, like, and a lot of people don't like sharing their stories or their past and stuff, because they're just, and that's fine, they're just do it their own way. But you and I, we like sharing our stories because we know, like, maybe we could stop somebody at 25 instead of at 35 or 40, and they could get their life together even sooner, or anyone, like, help them. But that also goes with to like, just make sure when you're growing, you have to, like, a lot of times you have to get rid of people in your life, because a lot of people don't want to see you do good, or a lot of people just want to stay in the same lifestyle, and they're going to try to hold on to you as hard as possible so you don't leave. They don't want to see you grow. They want to see themselves comfortable in their own lifestyle. But once you do leave, they're just fine. They still live in their life without you. But you have to be around other people, and be around people that are positive and like trying to grow as well and doing good things and want the best for you, because that's how you're going to get out of this situation. You need help. It's too hard to do it by yourself. Even if you have to just listen to this podcast, me and Steven, like, we'll be your friends, like, through de facto, through the internet, like through the podcast. Like, yes, we don't know you personally, we may not hang out with you, but we are going to help you by just sharing our stories and that you can relate to, because you can't really speak the things that you never done and experienced. Like, we've done this, we experienced that, we know the treachery, the depression, like the fucked up shit that you get when you get into these modes and get into these bad routines. And a lot of people are in them, a lot of people. And we're just trying to help with that. But also too, it's like, I like I said, you're my best friend. I'm like, I wouldn't want me to like sit there and grow and grow and grow, and you sit there and just watch you just sit there and deteriorate and just fucking get worse and worse. That wouldn't be bad. So I'm glad that my actions and like learning through, I try to like lead through example. Like, I'm not going to tell you to do something and me not doing it. So I try to like be the best I can, and hopefully other people see that and elevate them. But also, you're helping me too, because you're now working out and you're like, you got a 6-pack. So I'm like, oh, I want that as well. Like, so it's like, and like, see what you're eating. I'm like, oh man, I should eat some of that instead of this. So it's like, and it's like a loop where now we're sitting there getting better and better. It's like, and it's not like it's a competition, like, oh, I'm trying to be better than you. It's kind of like, we're just growing together. And it's like, and that's what's awesome too. Like, cause like even Snoop Dogg says, once you're growing, sometimes it's called the gap. Other people are not growing and they want to like bring you back down. But the only way for you to get back down is to lose. You're going down. That means you're losing. We don't lose. We win. So like, oh, no, we're going up. So you either catch up or else you're getting left behind. Yeah. I thought that was pretty good too.
Yeah, I think I've actually heard him say that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was definitely a crazy journey. And I think the way that you told me too, it wasn't like you called me and like, oh, you're a piece of shit, you're a damn drunk, and you didn't talk to me like that. Like, some
I
people
don't do that.
think that's how you get other people to change this. I'm gonna make this person feel as shitty as I can about themselves, and then they're gonna change. That's what's gonna be it. It was like you were almost only kind of just suggesting things to me, and I think
Yes.
the way you did it made it, because when you say certain things to people like that, like, oh, I think you're drinking too much, this, that, and the other thing, like a wall comes up, they get into like a defense mechanism, and anything you say after that point, like the wall, it just bounces off the wall, it hits the
Yeah.
wall, and that's the end of it. But the way you said it was almost like you're like, oh, maybe you should do this and like think about this. And
Yeah.
I think it probably worked out very good in the end. Well, obviously, I did stop in the end, but I think my sister, she used to tell me I had a drinking problem, and I just, the way she said it was not good, so I never would listen to what she said. And even if she was true. So yeah, you gotta, the way you talk about people, or the way you try to suggest things, like kind of like we said in another podcast, that like, you can't force anyone else to change. Like, as much as you love them, as much as you care about them, there's nothing you can really do to change that person if they're not willing to change. And all you could do is be there to support them and give them encouragement, and that's about it. There's not much else you can do
Yeah.
to change anyone.
Yeah. Like I said, like, I might have sparked it off, a suggestion and trying to help you out, but at the end of the day, you did the work. you wanted to change and you did change, so you gotta, most of the credit's on you, but yes, like you want to be a support system and help people out as well. Like I say, I lead through example more than, I talk about my experiences. I don't tell people like, I have family members and other friends that are still, doing self-deprecating things, ruining their life. Like I see that every day and it hurts me like in my heart. I'm thinking like, I wish I could change, but I can't make them change. And sometimes I'll tell them like, you should do this and try to like tell them things like I told you, but it doesn't go through with them. So maybe when they're ready, I'll be here. I was like, here's my, go listen to my podcast, go listen to my videos or whatever. Like, this is what it's here for. Like I've been telling you. So, you just hopefully one day they'll change, but if not, it's going to be a downhill battle for them. And, it's not fun for them, but, and that's just what it is, what it is, what it is. But I just lead through example. I'm not sitting there like, oh, you have to change or I'm not going to hang out with you or talk to you ever again. Like to my, to somebody like that. It's like, I'll still talk to you, but I'm not going to go hang out and drink with you.
Yeah. Some people are like that too. It's funny, like I said, like, oh, I'm gonna talk so bad about you that you're gonna be forced to change if you want this friendship or our relationship to continue. I wanted to ask you, since you were the first person who stopped drinking between us two, like how was that process for you?
Well, when I first stopped drinking, like, it was like there was a lot going on too, because like when I first stopped drinking, it was 3 months before my dad passed away. And he died in December of 2019. Like I said, I drank a few times here and there, but I pretty much don't drink. But so I didn't drink for like since October till December. And then I was just like, and it was just kind of like just not doing anything. Like I was just like staying away from everybody. That was kind of the thing. Like I just had to stay away from everybody, because even some people ask me like, how do you go to a bar or go hang out with drunk people? Like if you're like a old alcoholic. And I'm like, well, at first I couldn't, like I could not hang out with drunk people. I had to stay away from everybody. I'm like, and a lot of people would hit me up and be like, what, thought I was changed. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why aren't you hanging out? Like, you don't like me or something anymore? And I'm just like, no. And it's like hard to just explain to people, like, I'm doing this for me. Like, I just don't, I have to stop drinking. So then my dad passed away in December, though. Then in New Year's that year, I did have a breakdown and a relapse, and I drank and I got pretty drunk in Vegas and I broke down on Facebook, cried and everything. Like the video is still up there. A lot of people seen it. And I was just crying like how much I miss my dad, and it was messed up. And it was just, and then I go and I posted it and kept it up there and said, I'm keeping this up here for me so I could go back and look at it, like how, like the emotional state I was in. So, like a lot of people should record themselves in some moments and come back and look at it and to see how they are. Like record yourself when you're drunk and just sit there and just record yourself and talk to yourself, and then go back and look at it when you're trying to stop and see like that person. Be like, I never want to be that person. That's disgusting. I don't like that. But then after that, I drank that one day. I didn't drink for like 6 months after that in 2020. So that was like the longest I ever went. And like I was just concentrating on just getting better, learning, like listening to audiobooks, staying positive, and just staying away from everybody. And then then I was moving out at that time, and I drank a few more times. I was like, I want to drink with my friends in Fontana and stuff one last time before I move on. So I drank like 3 or 4 times that in a few months, and just went back into it. And I started realizing like, oh man, I'm getting back into it. Like, what is wrong with me? Like, what is going on here? And then I moved out with my current roommate, Mary, which she drinks like 1 or 2, like here and there, but she doesn't really drink. And she kind of promotes me like, like, don't drink. I don't want you to go back to your old self. So that kind of helped me a lot too. Like just being around her instead of being around other people that would be like, you know what? Like you should come drink. Like, why don't you drink? Or it doesn't hurt you, like, or something like that. Like you could drink a few, or like, no, she was like, no, don't get back to your old self. You remember how you were. So that really helped me, and just being around someone like that and being around her. So that was a good support system as well. And also like, and then a few times I did, like, I took her to a bar one day. Like I was like, on one of my relapses or whatever, and I was just like, I feel like drinking today. And like, because I would drink like 3 times in a whole year, which I used to drink like 15, 16 times in a month. Well, I took her there and I drank 1 beer, and then I drank another one. I'm going to go another one. She's like, no, you're not drinking another one. I'll leave or whatever. Like she told me like, she's like, drink some water and stuff. And I'm like, I never had people drinking with me like that. They would always be like, oh yeah, let's go get another one. And then we just end up drinking all night. So then I was like, she kind of like helped me just regulate it. And then just also like, I didn't want to like disappoint her or anyone else. So I'm just like, I'm going to stop drinking. And then it just kind of came about where I just didn't drink anymore. And then it's like, okay, now I don't even drink. Like, we went to a football game. I had 1 beer with like 1 beer. And I was like, oh, I can drink 1 beer. And it's like going to open up the mindset, but it's not like I wanted to like just drink 1 beer all the time. I was at a football game. I was like, I'll drink one beer. And that was it. I'm just sitting there. And I kind of thought in my head, like, I should get another one. But I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. And then now it's like, okay, I could go. I hang out with people all the time. Like, I'll go with her. And we went to like my friend Mary will go to like a concert and there'll be people drinking that's with us, or I'll hang out with you or in a Super Bowl party or something. There's people drinking. And I'm just like, I have no desire at all. I'm just sitting there not drinking at all. And it's like crazy. It's like, I don't even like have no desire at all. Like other people are drinking around me. They could be like, and you kind of just kind of watching them drink. And it's like, oh, well, whatever, they're drinking, they're having fun, but that just doesn't appeal to me anymore. So it's just crazy. Now I can hang out with people, anybody, and just have the willpower. So it's like not even a problem anymore. Like it's so funny because once you get past it and over it, it's just like, for me at least, I know some people they might still can't do that, but for me it's just like nothing. It's not even a problem now. So it's like, okay, now I go to the next problem, which was eating. Like, okay, now I need to fix my habit, like, or smoking. Like, so it's just, I knew I conquered that. So I had to go to the next one. And that's just what the growth is. Like, and I was like, oh, now use those same kind of steps with this next problem. You kind of learn and you can defeat one of your biggest enemies. Now it's like, oh, I could fucking defeat any enemy. I'm fucking, and after you beat almost all your enemies, then you're like, dude, I can do anything. Let's just get elite now. Let's get fucking top notch. Let's do this.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's funny that you said too. I remember when I stopped drinking, like I couldn't be around people that were drinking. It was like, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I told my fiance like, oh, why necessarily I couldn't go. I think at first she really didn't understand, and I'm like, and then eventually I got to the point where one of the things I do too is when something is bothering me, like I just don't go and tell my fiance like, oh, something's bothering me.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the times, like I don't even know what is bothering me to begin with. So I gotta do some digging and then some analyzing, and then eventually I get to a point once I figure it out, and then I'll go to her, but like, this is something that's been bothering me lately, and then I'll talk to her just so we're on the same page. Like that, I think that's how you make relationships work, is having a communication. Like I just can't go in my little bubble
Yes.
forever and not tell her anything, but I do that in order to figure out what the problem is, because like I said, like I don't even know what to talk about in the beginning. So eventually I came to her and was like, you know what, I just can't be around it right now. I'm trying to stop, and I don't want to have that temptation in my face. Like there's no point in me being around people that drink right now, because especially in the beginning, because it's very hard to get out of your old habits. So like, why am I going to put myself in that position to make the change process even harder? Like, to me that didn't make any sense at all to do that. And
And when you would
yeah.
talk to her, did she like, you're basically like seeking feedback, which is like another part of growth. Like, what did she like tell you? Like when you would tell her your problems, like, cause like seeking feedback from like people you love is also very like important as well. Cause like, you want to see what they say. Like, so what did she like tell you?
Yeah, she was very supportive, and I think she basically said, well, "Yeah, I could tell something was bothering you, but I really didn't know what it was." So she kind of gave her insights, like, "Yeah, that makes sense. That if you're trying to stop drinking, like, I understand why you can't be around it right now." So I
Mm-hmm.
gotta thank her for that. She was very supportive, and during the whole process, she never like talked down to me or yelled at me, or she's very positive about the whole change. And even today she's like, sometimes I do miss having a drink or two with you, but she's like, she's happy with the person that I am today, and she's like, I wouldn't want you to go back to your old person. Like she's like, even though I love that guy, she was like, you're so much happier now, more positive, that she's like, I'm happy for you, but she's like, I do miss having a drink with you here and there.
Yeah, and that's just being honest, like, and like you're saying, communication. But like you have to surround her. Like, and the thing about your fiance is that she is very positive and very supporting, and she is proud of you. Like I know that for sure. But like you have to be around positive people. Like if you're not around positive people, like it's just it's just the worst thing you could possibly do. And a lot of people are negative. Like that's the one thing I did in my growth thing is just I get rid of people that are negative, even people that I grew up with, and like they would tell me things like, oh, you're not going to answer my call from somebody that's always been here for you. I'm like, no, you like you the only person that's with you 100% of the time is you. Like I am the one that's with me all the time. Like you can't say you've always been here for me. Like what? So doing cocaine together and drinking together, that's always been there for me. Like when like is that you didn't sock me up and tell me not to do it. Like, what are you doing? Like you're a negative influence. But And also things just like just being so negative, like it just drags you down. Like it's like you have to get rid of those people. And then sometimes it's like family members, and you're like, oh well, like you can't get rid of your blood, you can't get rid of your family. You might have to go to Christmas dinner and they might be there, but well, what you do with that is just try to stay away from them as much as possible. Love them from afar or whatever, because like friends you could probably get rid of a lot of friends you can, but I know like family members, like sisters or brothers or even like uncles or aunts or parents even, they could really be negative and bring you down, and like you just got to distance yourself from them. And then other people you just got to cut off totally. Like one of the biggest things I had to do with my growth is I had to move out of Fontana. I had to move out of my home city, because that's where it all began. And people are like, well, you love that, like that's your city, like, but I always said, like, when you were born, you didn't pick your city. You didn't pick your city. I was just born into that city, and then I was gonna go to the schools that were in that city. So I'm gonna meet the friends that are in that city that I didn't have no choice to pick at all. So like I'm gonna have friends that are in this environment that I didn't know, like I didn't pick at all. Like so eventually you just start becoming friends with people, and then later on in life, like you start realizing how toxic they are, the bad decisions they make you do. So then once you get old enough where you can actually make decisions on your own and be an adult. And so I decided, it took me 35 years, but I moved out of Fontana, and I'm like, you know what, now I'm going to just get rid of all these people that I don't like and just keep the ones I do like and move into a new area. And from now on, I'm going to live the area where I want to live. I want to get the friends that I want to pick, like I'm not forced into these friendships of just because I was in the city as a kid, and you're kind of like in your environment. A lot of people are trapped in their environment, and that's a huge barrier for a lot of people, especially since you're a kid. You have no clue about what's going on. So it's like, even like you as a parent, you have a kid, like you want to make sure that he's in the right environments, because that's what's going to stick with him forever. And those friends are going to be long lasting relationships. And I feel bad for a lot of people because they don't have the means or the money or the area to get out of places like that. And even their parents might have to do some self-reflection and some growth in order to get them even into a little bit better place. But environment is a huge thing with your growth, and it could hold you down forever if you're not careful and if you're unlucky.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I remember for me, I feel like my negative person, even though I love my sister to death, but she had good intentions, but it was her delivery that was the messed up part. It was like she didn't have a positive way to like tell me you need to change. And it even took a while, like even after I was sober, I think for like 6 months, it felt like she just couldn't be happy for me. She's like, well, talk to me in another 6 months if you can make it that far. I'm like, why are you even saying like you can't be happy for your brother who hasn't drank? Like I drank my whole life and I stopped for 6 months. Like you didn't believe that I could go as long as a year or 2 or 3 or whatever it was. Is like she
And now we're at
couldn't.
2.5 years now. What's up?
I didn't understand that. Like, why can't you just be happy for me? And I still talk to her here and there, and she moved out to Utah, but I think she was one of the persons like, I love her to death, like I said, but she just didn't have a positive way to communicate her feelings. Like her thing was always kind of like, I need to break you down and tear you apart to get you to change. And that, if you try to use that tactic, I'm going to tell you now, all you're going to do is push people away from you. Like they're
Yeah.
going to not want to come to you because every time, I had a conversation with her, it was always like negative, and it was always like, I need to change this about my life. I need to do this differently. And it's like, and maybe there's some truth to that, but when you talk to people a certain way, like I said earlier, they're not going to hear you. And I kind of had to distance myself from her a little bit. And
Mm-hmm.
honestly, like I had you for my support, I had my fiance for the support, but for me, I kind of just went in my own little world for a little bit. Like I had to go in with the demons and have my battle with them and get to the bottom of it and figure out like what do I need to do in order to change. And there's not always a book where you can read that's going to tell you, all right, this is what you need to do, steps A through Z. Like it's not like that. It's you have to go in there and you have to figure it out, and it's not easy. You have to battle those demons, and it's always not going to be clear what choices you should make. And
Yes. Yeah, that's crazy too, because you really do have to like go in your own world for a little bit, like, and it's because I did the same thing. I was in my own little world for a while. Like, and it just, a lot of people didn't even know because, you know, I would still like respond to them or talk to them, but I'm just like, I would never go out. Like, one year I went out like 4 times or 5 times the whole entire year. Like, I would just by myself and just sitting there trying to reflect. It get depressing and very lonely sometimes, but you know, it's like I was just in that. But now I'm just, you know, embracing change. You got to embrace change, and and that's one of the big things too. But yeah, so what else?
But you said you didn't go out 4 times a year. It's like I know when you're in those moments too, like you just want to be by yourself. Like I understand that too, because I've had like other people or I'll just speak about myself. When I was in my little funk, like I didn't want to be around people. Like why I'm all feeling all sad and I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel like I'm lost. Like why would I want to be around other people? Like I'm in my own little funk, but at the same time, I think going out and being in a social environment can help you kind of get out of that a little bit because you can only be so closed in for so long. And I think you need a release and like, all right, just go out and be a little bit carefree, not necessarily go back to your drinking ways or anything
Yeah,
if that's what you're doing. But to be around other people, I think is necessary after a certain amount of time of being alone for so long. Like, because being alone
yes,
for so long, like you could go into a deeper hole and probably even a bigger depression. So
that's
do it
true.
for a little bit, but come out after a while and show your face and try to, put on a smile and have some conversations, get some different perspectives, and then you could go back in your hole if you want.
Yeah, because you know we are social creatures, and we do, and like you need other people, no matter what. Like this whole society, everything is built off of everyone doing something together. You know, like so you have to have people, and like yes, we talk about drinking, like that's um makes you healthier. Stop drinking, you know, like and stop smoking. That makes you healthier. Like eating better makes you healthier. Exercising makes you healthier. But we also have to have mental health and hanging out with people. Like just recently, a month ago, like I was just going hard on my work and going hard on like everything else, and I was like kind of getting by myself again for a few more weeks. And then like you had a little party, or you went to Dave and Buster's, and I went over there, and it just was like, even your fiance was telling me like, you guys need to go out more than just hikes because this is going to help you with your mental health. And I really did need that. And even our, you know, my little brother, your nephew, Mikey, he was like telling me, oh yeah, I need that too. We need to go hang out one day. So it's like you have to have, and you know, we're positive people and stuff too. So it's like he needs that as well. Like we need like, you just have to be around people here and there for your mental health is just as important. And also doing all these habits of stop drinking and stuff that will help your mental health too, because you know, like my mental health has gotten a lot better. You know, I'll be listening to the sad songs now still sometimes here and there, and I'm just like, man, it's like it just doesn't hit as like it did before, where I was just like depressed. Now it's like, oh, it's cool, but just my mental health is just in such a better place as now, as well as you get better. And also humans, we love progress. Like progress is what I think like one of the fulfillments in life is, if you see yourself and you feel yourself getting better, even if it's a little bit, you start getting that mental health just a little bit better. So that's why you're saying earlier, these small steps, they're small wins. They're like, you want to add up these small wins. Like if you just ate good for breakfast and ate shitty the rest of the day, like that's a small win. Make that a big win in your head. Like, yes, I did that. That's a great thing. It's not just like, oh, I just did it. No, it's a great thing. I'm making progress. Look what I did. That's amazing. And then do that tomorrow, and then do the same thing. And then you're doing a week, then do it a month. And you know, they say what it takes a month to make a habit, 3 months to make a lifestyle. Eventually it becomes a lifestyle. And you're like, okay, now I just eat good every breakfast. It's a lifestyle. I don't even think it's a win, but that's it. Now let's do another win. Let's get another small win in there. And you build on that in order to make growth. And you got to get those small wins, because it just puts in your mind, like they say, like your mind doesn't understand a big win from a small win. It just thinks win. So like you want to get these small wins, no matter how small they are, and make them like a big accomplishment in your life, and just build off of that.
Yeah, a lot of that too is just having the right perspective. Um, like you said, celebrate those little wins. I called it like confidence stacking. Like
I like
it
that.
doesn't matter how small or big it is, like start small and start stacking up those small wins. And
Mm-hmm.
eventually you start to believe like I can change because look at all these small things that I've improved on. And
Yeah.
then those things lead up to the big change at the end.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes with too, I think, celebrating those little wins and having the perspective instead of telling yourself like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. Like, no, it is a big deal. It's like
Yes.
it's part of the process of change. And once you can shift your perspective to seeing those as little positive wins instead of like, oh, they don't mean nothing and I'll always be the same person. I'll never be able to change. Like those thoughts and beliefs are not helping you. So you got to go in there and switch those perspectives around to help you out. Like use your perspectives to get you to the goal. Like that's
Yeah.
what you need to do.
And another part of like growth I want to talk about is like learning continuously. Like don't just learn one book and read one book. You like I love learning. I've always loved learning. Even my mom used to say, you used to run home from school and just couldn't wait to do your homework because you're gonna learn more, you know. Like now I'd read books. Like I've always been like about learning, and that's really a lot of growth comes from because why sit there and try to figure out all yourself? Everything's already been figured out most likely. Like and there's people out there that figured it out and you could learn from them. So it's like I tell people all the time, like, do you listen like that are like going through problems, whatever in their life? Do you listen to podcasts? They're like, no, I don't. Like, do you listen to audiobooks? No, I don't. Do you read like besides like not just reading a a novel or something, like reading something with personal growth? Like they're like, no. I'm like, well, this is what you like start doing this, and they don't do it. And it's like, what do you like? You know, I'm giving you the tools. I'm telling you to do it. Like, listen to our podcast. You know, and they're like, do this. Like, they don't do it. Like, because a lot of this stuff from the podcast I've learned from books and audiobooks and other people like Jim Rohn, you know, like Grant Cardone. There's so many people out there. Jim Rohn's a great one, or Tony Robbins, and all these other people. Like, you can learn from them, and it just teaches you so much. And that's where I'm learning it from. So like you got to learn continuously. Like start looking at Tony Robbins podcast. Go to your podcast and put Jim Rohn in there. Watch some YouTube videos. I know there's some people that you really like that you like listen to a lot that helps you a lot. And they're like, and they are so wise and they know so much. And a lot of people just make fun of them, think they're corny or whatever. But these are really the true blocks of life that could like learning that could teach you a lot of stuff about how to get better. And like so, what do you think about like you learn too like a lot from these podcasts and stuff, mentors?
Yeah, I've gone through sometimes I won't even listen to anything in my car. Like I know a lot of people listen to music or whatever, but I did get into a point where I zero music and it was just all either like podcasts or I would YouTube like a speaker that I like. I like personally I like Les Brown, Eric Thomas,
That's
Tony
fun.
Robbins,
Mm-hmm.
Jim Rohn, like you said. There's a lot of people who have good perspectives on, you might see a thing a certain way in your little bubble, but there could be a totally completely different way to see that thing that you've never been exposed to. So hearing somebody else say it like opens up these little doors in your mind to like, oh, well, I didn't even know I could see it that way. So now let me dive in a little bit deeper and explore that concept or that perspective a little bit more. And yeah, I've gotten into a point where I'm just constantly like now I just want to keep learning and growing. My fiance even told me like she's like it just seems like you can never be happy. Like as soon as you do one thing and you're done, like you just move on to the next. Then I'm like, well, yeah, I was like I'm trying to improve, and once I master or I get one
Yeah.
area down, like that's how you keep growing is you keep moving. And like it's not that
Yes.
I'm not happy for, and I used to think that I'm like maybe I'm not happy, like am I a unhappy person? I'm like no, it's just like after I conquer one area, like I want to move on to the next. I don't want to stay there and become stagnant. I want to,
Exactly.
once I get my eating done or my eating nutrition good, like all right, let's work out. After you get your workout done, like what's next? And
Yeah.
those things are a process, they take time, but that's the whole thing about growing is change, and you got to kind of get a little bit comfortable with being uncomfortable. Like you're
Yeah.
going to have to do things that you've never done before and maybe see things you never saw before, but that is how you change and expose yourself to ideas by, like you said, having some mentors, having some other people that have a positive mindset that can help you get out of your little funk and help break your little false beliefs that you may have or your negative ways of thinking. And for
Yeah.
me, yeah, I just listen to podcasts a lot. And I think that really did help me in the long run, just getting these positive people in your head every day, every day, every day, telling you that you
Yes.
can do it and how to do it. And after a while, you start to believe in yourself and you start changing. And then those changes that you conquer, like give you even more belief in yourself. And then, like you said, you want to become like, eventually get to this elite level that not too many people get to, just because you persevered and you kept on adapting to change and you had the desire and the willpower to bring about that change as well.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you just got to put it in your head every day. That's what I was doing too. And sometimes I had the wrong focus. I'm like sitting there thinking about how am I going to get financially secure? How am I going to get financially secure? Well, like how am I going to get my money up? So I was like looking at a lot of, which is a great thing too because you need that. But like I think a lot of that had to do with like I was trying to get out of my situation where I'm in. I'm like I'm trying to get out of Fontana, away from these toxic people. I need money, you know. But I wasn't really thinking about other things like how to stop drinking, how to get healthy, how to stop eating, start eating better. So that now that like I'm in a comfortable position, I'm like, okay, like I feel my body change, and I'm like, I need to actually get my health better because that's what's going to make everything else fall in line. Health is always the number one. They always say health is wealth. So like I need the health, the main thing. So I think a lot of people should focus on that because that also helps with your mentality and stuff in your brain. But I would just listen to that stuff every day, and like some of the books I would read just for people out there listening, like the financial ones was The Richest Man in Babylon. Like that will teach you how to personally grow your finances. Like, and that's what is part of growth, like, and, but this other books, like what are some books that you had? I'm trying to think of some, but I have like a ton of books here, like
Think and Grow Rich.
Think and Grow Rich.
That was a good one.
Um, How to Win Friends and Influences People teaches you like how to just talk better to people, like, and stuff like that. So you really want to like learn how to talk better. And that was a good one. Like,
Another a good one that I read probably within the last year was Atomic Habits.
oh,
Uh,
okay.
yeah, that one too. That was the one that was basically it talked about growing a little bit, like try to get 1% better every single day, and by the end of the year, if you do that, you're 37 times better than you were in the beginning of the year. Just 1%. If you could only,
Yes.
if you could only wake up and if you could only do one push up, do the one push up. Do what you can do, and
Yeah.
eventually you're gonna be able to do more. But just 1% better. Maybe your first day you do one push up. Maybe this second day if you could still only do one, and do one, and then eventually you get to two, and then eventually you could get to 50 or whatever it is. But yeah, Atomic Habits is the book. Can't remember the author of it, but yeah, I would
Yeah.
recommend that book to kind of help you out if you're in the journey of change. It'll
Oh,
probably
and
help.
Ty Lopez says his favorite book was, I think, Mastering Oneself. I think that's what it's called, Mastering Oneself. That was a good one. It was a short one. It was an audio book I read, but it's also a real book. But that one was just that one was pretty good as well. I like that one. But I have a lot of audiobooks. I can't even, they're just blanking my mind right now. But
Yeah,
I just have so much, like you're saying, just and it's like a lot of things I say too. Like I'll just like I can't even remember it, but as soon as a situation comes up, I was like, it's just in there. It's in the back of your subconscious, and you'll just say it, like, oh, it's like this. And like one of the quotes I always think of is Jim Rohn's, work on yourself harder than you work on your 9 to 5. And most people hate their job and stuff, but they're working for it all day, like, but they're not, and they go home and they're tired, but they don't work on themselves. So you have to work on yourself hard, like, and do that. And like, and every day you'll get a little bit better. I really love Jim Rohn. I think people should listen to like his like YouTube videos if
yeah,
they're
I like
really
him.
down for, that's a really good place to start, like if you're starting.
I think I read another book recently called "Win Win Your Inner Battles." But yeah, that was another good one too because I think that book talked about getting all the knowledge is one thing. You have to start applying it in your life in some meaningful way for you to bring about the change, because it doesn't help you at all just to keep the information in here and not, if the book tells you to journal and write things down, like start to do that, like do the things the book is telling you to do, because that's how you're going to change. Like you
Yeah.
can't just keep it all in your mind. You have to take some action on it and put it out there into the world,
Yeah.
and try it. If it doesn't work for you, like you have to figure out a different angle, but
Yes.
take action at some point.
Trial and error, baby. That's all. Trial and error. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you just got to take action. That's the biggest thing, and that's a thing that Grant Cardone taught me a lot. Like each person taught me a little bit, but Grant Cardone was just like 10x, 10x, like just basically like 10x your action. Whatever you're doing now, just go massive, do massive action, do it big, just do as much as you possibly can. And like David Goggins says that too. I'm listening to his book. He just says like like once you could go and just, like yesterday, we went and did a 16-mile hike. Like after you're done with that, you're thinking like, oh, I'm tired, I can't do anything. But technically, I could have probably did another 100 push-ups. Like your mind quits first, I think it says, before your body. I forgot which one. Yeah. So like your mind will be like, I can't do it, but your body can keep going and going and going and going. Obviously, you don't want to overexert it. You need rest days. A lot of people say you don't want to do too much, but it's just the idea of you can do that. Like it is possible for you to do so much that it's almost impossible to think that how much your body can actually go and do.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I can relate it to working out. Usually it's those last few reps that are the hardest. And like technically you could probably push yourself to do those last few reps, but they're so
Yeah.
painful that your mind is telling you like, no, 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 I don't like this. Stop, stop, stop. But there's an aspect of you that can like override that, like, no, I'm the one that's in charge. Like you listen to what I say. Like I
Yeah.
don't listen to these little signals, and it's probably there to protect you, but you can override it. There's ways, like for me, it was the cold plunge, getting up every morning and getting myself in that cold water. It's like you're fighting this mental aspect of you that's telling you, I don't like this, I don't want to do it. And you can do it. You just have to exercise that part of your mind
Mhm.
that can override that other aspect of you.
And I think I'm not sure, I'm probably getting the person wrong, but I think it's Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali. Um, might be someone else, but they said something like, like how many sit-ups can you do? And he's like, well, I don't start counting my push-ups, or I don't start counting my sit-ups until it starts to hurt. So he's just
Yeah.
like, oh, I could do 10 or 15 sit-ups and I don't count them. But once it starts hurting, I'm like, okay, now I'm going to start counting to see how long. I thought that was pretty cool. Like, because it is very hard for you to like, especially with sit-ups, my shit would be just burning. I'm like, oh, it's hurting so bad. And I'm just like, oh, that's it. I'll just wait and rest for a little bit and like do like a minute or two rest and then go back at it. But it's just like that idea of counting it when it starts to hurt. Then you could see like, okay, how long could I last and like do this when it's painful?
Yeah, like that's where you find out what kind of person you are. Are you going to quit at number one, or can you get to
Yeah.
5 or 10? And
Yes.
that's another good perspective, I think, to have to kind of push yourself. Like
Yeah.
I like that one.
Yeah. And like I like I was at the gym too, because I was having a lot of issues with my metabolic health because of my diet. And
Mhm.
so I was at the gym just sitting there doing the elliptical, and I was just going at it, and I was just literally just, like once I started getting my heartbeat and I started going, I was just telling myself, I was like, you're a beast, you're the best, you're gonna do this, you're gonna get healthy, you're gonna change your life, you're gonna be successful. And I just kept telling myself over and over again, like just whatever came to my head at the same time, like even if I was just repeating the same things over and over, you're gonna be successful, you're gonna do it, you're gonna win, you're a beast, like nothing can stop you, you're an elite, just telling myself that, because it's like you got to tell yourself things like that and reinforce it. And especially in the moments like that when you're going hard, it's like you could do it. Like if you're doing sit-ups or push-ups, like you got this, you're doing one more, you're not weak, like just keep pushing yourself and getting that confidence, and it'll help you get through those next few reps, that next few hard time. And you're like, or any moment, that difficult moment that you're going through in life, and get you through that. So then that you can, you're resilient. You're like, once you know that you're resilient and you know that you could do something, it's amazing what you can do. Because even like there's a story out there that says like the 4 minute mile, which you know of, it's like everyone said the 4 minute mile was impossible. Like, so everyone in their mind already had it as impossible. Well, once one person did it, it's not impossible anymore. Someone did it. So then now like hundreds of people have done it. So it's like a mental barrier. And there's another experiment that I just want to say, like that David Goggins was talking about. And I was telling the people yesterday about it, that there was an experiment that scientists did with rats, whatever. They put them in a thing of water, and rats are really good swimmers. They could swim for like a long time, right? So they were swimming in this thing and trying to find a way out. Well, they couldn't find a way out. They'd go to the bottom and try to find a way out. No, they couldn't. They just die. They would just drown after 15 minutes. Well, the scientists tried to do this new thing where they would like, okay, let's wait until they're totally exhausted, about to die, and take them out. Let them set them and dry them off. Let them get their heart rate down. Let them rest. And then once they're ready to go, put them back in. Do the same thing. And then wait until they're almost exhausted, about to die, about to drown, take them out. And they would do that like 4 or 5 times or whatever. And then like, okay, now let's just do it without taking them out. And these rats or mice would stay in there for 16 hours swimming around with every exhaustion, couldn't breathe, like couldn't, just going and going, because they thought now they're in the mental barrier that they broke through, saying somebody's going to save me, so I'm going to try to stay alive. And that's the difference between just knowing that you can be resilient and also thinking and believing that you can't.
Yeah, I've heard of that study too. I kind of love it too because that's almost making me think about like a mouse now. It's like a mouse. Does a mouse have a similar consciousness to a human in some
Yes.
regards about like that survival where we have these little mental blocks where you believe you can't do something and you can apply that little mouse mind to the human mind
Yes.
and to understand the human mind better. That's kind of freaking crazy.
And I
But
think
yeah,
almost everything has a survival mechanism, yeah, or
I've
defense.
heard both those stories. I've heard see, this is why you got to listen to your mentors and listen to other people. Because I heard that 4 minute story, the 4 minute mile story from Les Brown. They
Yes.
basically talked about, yeah, people never even attempted it because they didn't know it was possible. But as soon as that one guy broke it, like I think he said something like, I can't remember the exact time, but it was a short time frame after that where like 100 people did it.
Yeah.
And it was just because of that one person did the impossible.
Yeah.
And now since he did it, people were like, well, I could do it too. And since they had that belief in themselves, they were able to do it. So it's like, what else in your life are you capable of that you're holding your back, you're holding yourself back from? Probably a lot. Like we are more resilient and more capable than I think we give ourselves credit for. And it's so easy. And I think that it goes back to wanting to be comfortable. It's like,
Hmm.
it's so much easier to not do the hard stuff and just live a comfortable life. But like, being comfortable is not where you are going to grow. Like if you're going to
Yes.
stay comfortable, comfort and growth do not exist in the same realm. Or exist in the same realm. You're going to have to do the uncomfortable to get the better things in life.
Yeah. Just like quitting sugar, like it was uncomfortable for 14 days, 7 days. I was totally withdrawing. That was very uncomfortable. But I knew like through past like the drinking and stuff that I could accomplish this. So it's like I in my mind I knew I could do it, but I just had to get through that first week or two. Same thing with you and smoking. It's like it's just crazy. But like the human body and the human mind is capable, and humans in general are capable of obviously amazing feats. Look at what we built, look at the things we've done like throughout history and like just even recently. Like we're amazing creatures, and like our body also, just everyone other, it has amazing ability to heal. It could heal, your lungs can heal from stop smoking, your mind can heal from depression, like your stomach can heal from bad like eating habits. Like you have an amazing ability to heal, and your cells and stuff change after 7 years. They say your whole body like gets new cells, like, and so you don't know the power that you have within yourself. Like you have so much power to change, to heal, to get better, and to accomplish not just good things, amazing, crazy things. So you got to think of that as well. It's like, I'm just going to go, like, even if I feel like shit, whatever, I'm going to do it because I know one day I'm going to be elite. I could get cancer. Boom. I'm going to beat it. We have a mutual friend that beat pancreatic cancer. It's a 6% chance. He's living for 5 years after already. Most people die in 3 months. Like this, that's an amazing, like to me, that's one of the most amazing things I've seen out of any person that I know. Like it's a more of a, like, it's just amazing. Like, we stopped drinking. That's amazing. But this guy beat pancreatic cancer. I can't even imagine if going through that, like what that was like. So it's like there's so much like ability and like a possibility that you have, and you can do it. You can do it.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you said something I was gonna relate on, but I'm having a brain fart at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you just like listening to, they're like, oh, what? I do that too. But yeah, so it's just, like about 10 minutes here. I gotta head out anyhow because I gotta watch the Colts game, Rams game.
Uh-oh.
Go Rams, everybody. But yeah, um, yeah. So it's just, growth is crazy because you're doing it, I'm doing it. We've both been doing it for a while. We have friends that are doing it. I'm pretty sure even rubbing off on some of your friends because I know, like, has anyone ever told you like you're helping me get better, like, yet? Because I know so many people, because I've been doing social media for a while, a lot longer than you have, and like
Mhm.
actually putting yourself out there. And so many people have told me to change. Like so many people told me like I started investing because of you. Like I just got one today. Like someone messaged me and he says like I'm taking my health a lot more seriously now because of you. Like it's crazy. So has anyone like told you those? Because positive reaffirmations and like helping people is also another way to get motivation for you to get better as well. Because like I say, live through what do you call it? Live through example. So then
Mhm.
people start telling you that and you're like, yes, look, I'm helping them. Like, and then it feels good and you want to keep doing it.
Yeah. I think the only person that's personally told me is my fiance. I think I'm kind of rubbing off on her. She sees me doing my workouts every day, and she started doing. We have a little cycling bike here, so she started doing that here and there. So I
Nice.
think I am rubbing off on her, but she
And
has
your
also,
son.
yeah, yeah. My son, he likes to work out with me. He'll do my little sit up routine with me, and he can
Yeah.
do quite a good amount of pull ups now because he sees me do it, so he's like, "Let's work out, Daddy. I want to work out." So
Nice.
let me put him up on the pull up bar. So I'm hoping that I'm instilling some of these good habits in him, so when he gets older in life, he's just has this thought, or maybe it'll even be subconscious. I like, no, you need to exercise. Exercise is good for you. So
Yeah.
that's the goal there.
Well, if
Um,
anything, you're just at least teaching him. So he knows how to do it. If he wants to do, if he doesn't want in the future, let's say he's 30 and just wants to do it, be like, well, now I remember what my dad taught me. Yeah. So that's always there. If you never teach him, then it's like, I got to figure it out and learn it now. But now he already at least knows it. Yeah.
yeah. And to go back to the question, I think Valerie, like people haven't personally reached out and told me much, but
Not
Valerie,
yet, brother.
Valerie will say like, "Oh, so and so said this. Like they're proud of you. You're
Oh,
encouraging.
nice.
You're inspiring them to better themselves." So it gets to me one way or another. But she's
Chris
like, "Yeah,
Davis, like I think people on Facebook have told you too, like you're doing great and stuff like that as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah."
So you know
And
that you're inspiring them, I think.
she's like, just because people aren't liking your video and sharing it and all this other stuff, she's like, it doesn't mean you're not impacting them. Like
Hmm.
people just, you inspire them and they're more quiet about it. And
Yeah, a lot of
that's
people
kind
are.
of why I do post the videos that I do. It's like I want to encourage other people to better themselves. Obviously, I'm not going to force them to, but if I could be a source of inspiration, like look at Steven, he's doing his diet, he's getting up early, he's doing his exercise, and if I can inspire people by just living my life and doing the things that I do regularly, like hell yeah, that makes me happy. If I could help somebody make a positive change in their life, like
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I'm trying to do. Like, hopefully, I can inspire and help somebody else out, especially if they're going through a funk and they feel alone. Like, you're not alone. You're not the only one who's suffered and been through the struggle and been going through their little funks or depression. So, come to other people who have been through it and figure out how they got out of it, and
Mhm.
listen to what they say and try to maybe implement some of those things and take action on some of those things and see if it could help you out in the end.
Yep. And your Twitter or all your handles are at Steven Z, but I love your content. Like it took me forever to try to get you to do content because you're like, well, I just want perfection. Not like, but I just don't think you were ready at that point. But I'm so glad you're making content now. And like, I always wanted to do things like podcasts and stuff like that. But I don't like other people want to do it with me, but I'm like, I want to do it with Steven. Like, that's who I want to do it with because I know like we think a lot alike and similar, like with this kind of stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
like also too with like your fiance, like, I could see she even told me like, yeah, maybe I don't drink as much because of him. Like she drinks too, but she's like, I don't drink as much. Like I'll just because I know like, if Steven's getting totally wasted, I could get totally wasted. But now like she's like, oh, he's not getting wasted. I'll just drink a few, like, and like you're saying, she's exercising, which is also great too, because this kind of stuff does rub off on people no matter what. Like, so that's awesome too. But I know you're inspiring a lot of other people too, because even on your TikTok videos, you got like a little group of like other ice bathers that are on people that do ice baths that like comment on your stuff a lot. Like they're kind of like your regulars and stuff. Like I have some on Twitter the same way, like your regulars. And those ones, even though they might not say it, they're definitely getting a lot of strength and inspiration from you as well. And you probably get some from them. And it's kind of just like a group and a community now. And that's what we build off of. Like all human history has always been built off of communities.
Yeah. Yeah, even one of the people who follow me, he's a cold plunger. He stopped, it did heat up for a while, so I think that's why he stopped cold plunging. But he recently came out with a video. He's doing the fitness thing now, and
Oh
he's
yeah, that
like,
guy. I know who you're talking about.
I was depressed a little bit, and I kind of wasn't posting on TikTok anymore. But he's like, now I found like my new thing. He's like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna do be posting exercise kind of content. I'm like, I was like, maybe I had something to do with that. Maybe not,
Yeah.
but it could be or it could not be. But it
Definitely did.
would be kind of cool if that was true.
No, I definitely probably somewhere in there, like everything's in your subconscious. But yeah, it's like the same thing too. It's like sometimes like you might get a little depressed and like because you're not growing. So he's like, oh, let's do this. Let's do this 60-day challenge. Let's do a 30-day challenge. And that gets you back going because now you're progressing again. It's like, oh, now I'm not as depressed because I'm progressing. Because people always need progression. Progression and growth is amazing. It's great.
I think another positive thing is just learning to enjoy their journey. Like I had back in the day when I had my goal of getting the six pack, it was like as soon as I got the goal, it's like I got fat again. It's like don't fixate yourself so much on the goal because eventually you're going to get the goal and you'll be happy when you get it, but that happiness won't sustain itself forever. Like
So
at some
true.
point it's going to go away. So you got to learn to enjoy the journey part of it. And then once I'm not saying not to have goals, but enjoy the journey. Once you hit the goal, you can make another goal and then
Yep.
enjoy the journey to that next one. But if you kind of get hung up on just the goal, like it could be very tricky to hit the goal and then think you're done. Like, I don't have to do anything anymore, mission accomplished. Like, no, create another mission. Maybe give yourself a break a little bit if you need the mental break, but
Yeah.
create another goal for yourself so you have something to work towards on. So you're progressively and constantly growing and becoming better and better and better. And it's kind of like the 1% thing, get a little bit better every day because I think that's what life's about. And I think that's what gives it meaning and value is to push yourself. Like at some point, I think you want to know what you're capable of. And if you're not testing yourself or taking any risks, it's like, I think that kind of leads to depression too, because for me, it was like, I know I'm capable of more, but I'm not doing these things for whatever reason. And then I'd be all sad about it because I think deep down I knew I could do more, but for whatever reason I wasn't. And that
No.
I think it lead to getting into these funks.
And I also did the same thing too. Like I would get to 190 and I would like just stop and then get back up again. And like the one thing I think of is like a goal is like a journey is not a destination, you know. A goal is kind of a destination. So once you like what happens when you get to your destination? You stop. Like you're traveling to your destination and you get there and you stop. A goal is kind of a destination. And it's great to have goals, but you want some small goals and you want bigger goals. You always want to be chasing something, you know, like but like, I don't want to just be 190. I want to be at elite health, you know. So it's like, okay, the goal is 190 now, the goal is 185 now, I'm at 184. The goal is get to 179 next, but my big goal is to be an optimal elite health. So like a goal like is like a destination, but a journey is the process, and you want it like, and that's just something that never ends. Like it's always gonna go. So it's like you're always until you're dead, pretty much. So keep with the journey and enjoy that journey because it's not just like, oh, I'm gonna get this goal, hit the destination, and I'm there, rest. No, this is a process. The journey is life, you know, and it's the progression of life, and you want to enjoy life and you want to enjoy the journey.
Yeah. It reminds me of there's a book about it, but I've seen a movie called A Peaceful Warrior, and the guy is kind of like training this younger kid, and he takes him on a hike up to up some big hill, and he's like, the whole time you're saying you're excited, and he gets to the top, and he's like, well, what's this big thing you wanted to show me? He's like, and he's kind of looking around, and he's like points to the ground, and there's a rock on the floor, and the kid's like, better not be that rock, and he's like, what? And he's like, you're happy the whole way up here. Like, you couldn't wait to see what it is I had to show you. And because it was a rock, he was all unsatisfied. He was mad. He's like, why are you all mad now because of the end result? He's
No.
like, when you're so happy with the journey all up into this whole time until you got to this, and maybe the whole point of it was
Hmm.
maybe when you do get the goal, it's not exactly how you thought it would be, so you're unhappy with it. But
Yes.
I do. It's a really good movie, kind of, and then he does have that realization, like, no, like it's about the journey, like love the journey, because that's where the majority of your life is gonna be in these journeys that you take. The
Yep.
goal, of course, is gonna be there, but like I said, it's very short lived. It's not gonna make you happy forever. So learning how to enjoy the discomfort of change and growing and the
Yep.
process of just going through the journey, I think is going to help you out in the long run.
Exactly. All right, well, we're just gonna end it there. So you wanted to say, I'll say some last words and you could say some last words. You know, I just want to say out there for everyone that's struggling and with, just know that we're here. You could reach out to us in DMs. We love to help people that actually want to be helped and not people that are just bullshitting or whatever. But you know, like just could know that we're here and there's other people out there. There's a lot of information. We're here just to help and help people grow. please share the podcast too with other people that you might know that are struggling. Maybe you're not struggling, someone else is, but like you're capable, and you're definitely capable of climbing any mountain, no matter what position you are in life, no matter where you're at in your life. You can get better. And even if it's just 1% better per day, 1% better per month, just get better, try your best, and just never quit, and just keep trying at it, and you'll get there. And that's basically, growth is a beautiful thing, and just keep at it. I love to see it. What would you like to say?
Yeah, to add on to that, I'll say like nobody is really going to be able to help you unless you want to help yourself. So like, of course, if you wanted to reach out to me or Aaron, I'm sure we're going to give you the best advice we could give, but you have to be willing to kind of accept the advice if you want it. Like, we're always down to help, and especially if you're in the struggle and you're lost, like if we could be a source of guidance for you, like that makes me happy if I could help somebody out, because I've been through that struggle. I've been down in the hole. I've been through the trenches, and just realize change. It's gonna get to a point where it's gonna be hard. It's not gonna be an easy cakewalk, and nothing in life that's meaningful to have is comes easy. I was gonna ask you a question. I'll save it for the next podcast, but yeah, just
Yeah.
realize change is hard. It's not gonna be easy, and look to other people who have done it for some guidance, some advice, see what they did, make some notes, kind of make it your own, and change. Yeah, like Aaron said, change is possible. You just got to want it bad enough, and you got to
Yeah.
be willing to do the hard shit to get there.
Exactly. So, all right, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. This is number 5 now, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, number 5. So yeah, tune in for number 6. We'd love to have you here, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, have a good day, everyone.
Peace out.